Hi everybody, welcome to my channel, Be Free Now with Maria. My professional background is in psychotherapy, and I created this channel with the hopes of helping you experience some form of emotional freedom. This message is not intended to give psychological advice as much as to share information that will help you expand your perception by helping you make connections between your beliefs, thoughts, and feelings. The mind is fascinating, and through psychology, we are able to make connections, become more self aware, reprocess trauma, and change old patterns. This is helpful stuff. However, I believe that there's a spiritual element to life, and that when we leave this part out of the equation, we are left spinning our wheels. When we incorporate a divine belief into our daily lives, a deeper shift happens. Therefore, I like to process life with cognitive awareness and a spiritual perspective. With that said, today I want to talk about trust. Now, trust is basically something that we place on something, right? It's a confidence that we place on something or someone. The thing is that it's not always easy to trust when we have had experiences that have challenge that trust, right? Where let's say we expected or we desired one thing to happen and then something else happened, and we're left feeling like, oh, I can't trust because I thought this and this happened. Or we felt emotionally unsafe because of the outcome. And so we start to lose trust. But functioning in life without trust, right, while it may seem to protect us in one way, right, because now it's like, well, I know better, and so I'm going to protect myself. The flip side to that also is that we can close off too much. So we go from just having, an experience that gives us general knowledge, right, or a general moment in time, to a personal moment in time, one which we then take to another level and use it in a negative way where it then holds us back, right? Because if we can't trust, then we can't move forward. And this trust can be placed on someone, on a circumstance, on anything, right? But it impacts us in a very deep way. And the trust that matters the most is the trust ultimately that we have in ourselves. So that's the trust that we want to cultivate, right? Because we don't control the outside world and other people's choices and decisions, but we do have control of ourselves. And so when we establish and learn to establish that trust within ourselves, we are able to then function a little differently, right? Because now we're not as guarded. We're not so worried about the outcome or what other people are going to do, because or what the outcome can be with the circumstance, because ultimately we trust ourselves. But in order to trust ourselves, right, we have to trust that divine part of us. And I say part to identify, but in a way where it's, I guess, as a when I say, what's the best way to describe it? It's like a part of us, like something that's there within us. But it's really not a part, it's really our whole essence. But we think of ourselves as this, a little that, and so forth. So we look at it as parts. And ultimately, that's only because we live in a physical world, right? So this physical world, it's like, okay, my younger self, my adult self, my professional self, right? We have all these parts. And so that's why I say part. But I just want to be clear that when I'm saying part, it's just for that reason alone. It is our whole self, right? Our essence is our self, and that's our whole self. And that's what we want to learn to trust, because that's where our power lies. Like I said, we don't have control over other people and even circumstances. And when we place too much confidence in that, it can go either way, and that it can scare us. But when we place that confidence within ourselves and we learn to establish that, a deeper shift happens. And in order to be able to establish it, then we have to see ourselves as more than just these small people or this just one person. We have to see a bigger part of ourselves. And that bigger part is that divine part that created us, right? That divine essence that lives and breathes through us. And when we connect with that and we entrust, right, ourselves or what we're capable of to that, then everything changes. So placing that confidence in that divinity that divinity that lives and breathes through us, establishes a sense of trust that's different, because the trust that we place on people or things is external and is unreliable. It can change at any time, right? Because we don't have control over what people are thinking, going through, what's happening in the world, and so forth. But the trust that we place within ourselves and we establish through this understanding that there's this divine essence that lives and breathes through us, and we cultivate that belief on a daily basis, then we feel safer, because we know that we don't walk alone. We know that we have control of ourselves, even though we don't have it over other people or over circumstances outside of us. And even if we don't know it, then we could at least start cultivating that knowing and building our trust up from that end. So if we cultivate it, meaning we practice it every day and we use different tools in order to do that, but we want to be able to cultivate it. So if you want to read something that's spiritual in nature and uplifting to support you through that, perfect. You want to use prayer, meditation, great. Any tool that enhances that trust and builds it up is what you want to use. But this is where the focus needs to be, right? Learning to trust ourselves and building that trust comes with that realization or that connection and that remembrance of that divinity that lives and breathes through us. So before I end, I want to use a word or choose a word from this bag that I have of words and see what else comes up and what else am I inspired to share. Ooh, boredom. That's interesting. I didn't expect this word, only because boredom, wow, I don't feel bored. Okay, so boredom is interesting. You know what boredom makes me think of is that whenever I'm not doing what I really want to do, then yes, I can feel bored. But when I'm inspired to follow my heart, what feels right, what's just calling to me, right? What I'm attracted to, what I'm drawn to, then I don't get bored. It's like I can't get enough. I only get bored when I am forcing myself to do things or read things that I don't want to read or do things that I don't want to do. But when I am responding to that good feeling or those desires that are calling me, the things that I'm attracted to, that I'm drawn to, then yeah, I don't feel bored. So like I said, there are many tools that you can use to build your divine connection. So it's up to you. Use one that's not going to bore you. Use one that feels comfortable to you. There are meditative walks. There's many different things that we can do to... Sorry, there's an alarm going off. Someone's cooking downstairs. But anyway, yeah. When you are doing something that feels natural to you, you're going to feel less resistance, less boredom, and you're going to be more open and receptive to incorporating it as often as you feel called to. But in general, it's good to incorporate something every day that is so that you can cultivate, consistently. Of course, right, in this human body, sometimes we're doing good and then, I don't have time today and we get off track. But, that's part of, the human experience. But what's important is that we get back, on track. As soon as we recognize, wait, something's off, I'm not really feeling as good as I want to feel, and I'm not feeling that trust within myself. I'm doubting myself, and I don't want to doubt myself. I don't feel good when I doubt myself. I feel scared when I doubt myself, so I don't want to be in that space, and therefore I want to shift. And yes, we have that power to shift. So I hope that helps you in some way. May you have a beautiful day. Bye for now.